Hey, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to what I'm telling you. I am right. Why don't you use your mind? If you use your mind, you will know that I'm right. Stop being stupid. Imagine I told you this. Would that mean I encourage thinking or critical thinking? Would that mean I encourage reason and rationality?
No!
Oh, thank you, kids. If I tell you that I am right and that you must listen to me and say, why don't you use your mind? That does not mean I encourage critical thinking or thinking. Only a complete idiot would suggest something like that. Throughout my life, I heard so many times that Islamic scholars suggest that the Quran encourages critical thinking and reason and rationality, that it tells us to think. That, of course, is nonsense. Yes, the Quran does say, won't they reason? Won't they think? Will they not ponder? Why do you not think? Are you dumb? But that is similar to the example that I gave at the beginning. It's even worse. That does not encourage thinking. That encourages obedience and bullies people for thinking for themselves. So many scholars actually give Quran verses as examples, which encourage us to think or to give thought. Let's look at them. For example, in Quran chapter 2, verse 266, it says, Allah makes His signs clear to you, that you may ponder. This does not mean the Quran encourages you to think reasonably and to come to conclusions. It says, this is what I show you. If you use your mind, you will understand that this is true. That's not critical thinking. In chapter 3, verse 137, it says, travel through the earth and see the end of those who denied the truth. That does not encourage thinking. That is a threat for obedience. In chapter 3, verse 191, it praises those who remember Allah and who ponder on the creation of the heavens and the earth. But this does not encourage thinking, because it continues saying, Our Lord, you did not create this aimlessly. Exalted are you, then protect us from the punishment of the fire. Our Lord, indeed, whoever you admit to the fire, you have disgraced him, and for the wrongdoers there are no helpers. This is what Allah supposedly reveals to humans. This is an implicit, brutal threat, not an encouragement to think for yourself. Chapter 6, verse 116 is actually something that I myself liked when I was a Muslim. It says, and if you obey most of those upon the earth, they will mislead you from the way of Allah. They follow not except assumption, and they only falsify. Back then I naively thought, oh, this is totally true. Most people just don't follow proper reasoning. But that's not what this is about. This is about, hey, most people are not Muslims, especially to Muhammad, in his environment. Don't follow them. They will misguide you from the true path, which is the only path that you are supposed to follow. This is not reasoning. Ironically, Quran chapter 7 verse 179 says that Allah created people for hell, who have hearts with which they don't understand, eyes with which they do not see, and ears with which they do not hear, and they are like livestock. It doesn't tell us to think, it says that these people are unable to think and they are less than livestock. And they are bound to go to hell and burn there forever. This does not encourage thinking. In chapter 8, verse 22, when it says, the worst of living creatures in the sight of Allah are the deaf, dumb, and those who don't reason, this does not mean that those who don't think are not good and you should think so that you are good. This is an insult to those who do not believe in Allah. If you go a verse back and then another verse back, you will see that the context here is a warning to Muslims not to abandon Muhammad because their end would not be very well. In chapter 21, verse 67, it says, woe to you who worship others than Allah. Will you not use your mind? This is a very good example that is quite like what I did at the very beginning. This is kind of like chapter 47, verse 24, which says, do they not reflect upon the Quran, or are there locks upon their hearts? Which is very ironic because the Quran keeps saying that Allah places seals upon our hearts. This does not encourage critical thinking or reasoning or whatever it is. If I come to you and threaten you and say, why don't you listen to me? Why don't you use your mind? Does that mean I am encouraging you to do critical thinking?
No!
Oh, thank you, kids. That would be very stupid. The Quran tells you, this is true. You better believe or you will burn in hell and we will skin you and do this and that to you. Don't believe in all the other stuff that you believe. It's kind of like me holding a gun to someone's head and saying, I am telling you the truth, you better believe me, you better agree with me or else. If I'm now judged for this act, will it be said, oh, he was just encouraging the victim to think critically, to think for themselves?
No.
Oh, thank you, kids. Thinking critically, reasonably, rationally would be to think independently about everything, to be able to freely judge, to be able to question everything, even your most firm beliefs and ideas. If the Quran said, hey, you are intelligent humans, it is up to you to think and to question and to look at the facts. Never hold on to something blindly. Never feel the obligation to intellectually agree with others, with superiors, even if you don't really agree. Be open-minded, be free thinkers. Expand your horizon. If the Quran said something like that, that would mean that the Quran really encourages thinking. But of course, if the Quran did say that, it would also have to give up saying, you will burn in hell and you will be roasted and tortured and punished forever if you don't believe. Because that's not critical thinking. That's obedience, sheepish obedience, which the Quran, by the way, encourages in verses like, for example, 24 verse 51, in which it explicitly says, the only statement of the believers when they are called to Allah and His Messenger to judge between them is that they say, we hear and we obey, and those are the successful. The Quran says in chapter 33 verse 36, it is not for a believing man or a believing woman, when Allah and His Messenger have decided a matter, that they should thereafter have any choice about their affair, and whoever disobeys Allah and His Messenger has certainly strayed into clear error. This is sheepish obedience, this is not thinking. Islam literally means submission, surrendering to Islam, to the message of Islam. You're supposed to follow very specific guidelines in thinking and in acting. That is not in alignment with critical thinking. I can go back into my own mind and reflect and think about everything that I do and that I think, and question my own thoughts right now, over and over again, and I can change the most fundamental ideas that I have if I come to the conclusion that I am wrong about something. Muhammad, on the other hand, says very clearly, Satan comes to some of us and asks us questions such as, who created this and who created that, until he comes to the question, who created Allah? And if Satan does that to us, we should seek refuge in Allah and should stop thinking about such futile things. That is the opposite of critical thinking. That is Islam. In conclusion, given the very clear evidence, it is very obvious that Islam does not encourage critical thinking. On the contrary, Islam is against critical thinking. Islam is against freely using your mind. Islam demands you to think only a very specific way and to be obedient. That is what Islam is, and an obedient, submissive person is what a true Muslim is, according to the Quran itself. And I'm not saying Islam is supposed to have critical thinking. I'm not saying it doesn't have critical thinking, therefore it is wrong. I understand that Islam is not meant to encourage thinking and critical thinking. But then, people need to stop arguing that Islam does encourage critical thinking and reason and rationality. It clearly doesn't. Critical thinking and Islam are separate, they don't combine. And I would choose critical thinking over Islam every day. Was that the right hand? I don't know. Thank you for listening. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to share, and turn on the notification bell and all that. If you like what I'm doing and if you want to support this channel, please support me on Patreon or on apostateprophet.com. Thank you all so much. I will be back very soon. Have a fantastic day and stay away from Islam. Won't you use your mind? Stay away from Islam or else. It's just a suggestion. Stay away from Islam.